And our mission is quite simple. Our mission is for Fort Worth kids. Our mission is to make sure that every single student in our city has access and attains not just an education, but an excellent education. I'm going to level set with statistics, and I think it's important to know where we are today, to know where we're headed in the future for Fort Worth ISD. Those statistics can be sobering. 11 Fort Worth ISD schools today currently have an F rating, and 8 of those schools have received failing ratings for 3 consecutive years. Nearly 1 in 3 of our schools in Fort Worth ISD are struggling academically. Only 1 in 3 students in Fort Worth ISD have been able to read at grade level. And possibly more sobering when you think about the future of our amazing city. Fewer than 1 in 5 of our middle schoolers will attain or secure a degree or credential within 6 years of high school graduation. We know that this problem has gone on way too long, and I do mean we. This is not something that deserves pointing fingers or blame. We are focused on the future of hope and prosperity for all of our kids in this district. All students, regardless of their background, their income, their zip code, they deserve to learn and achieve at high levels, and we will support them in doing so. I'm a product of public schools. I am raised by public school teachers. My children have attended Fort Worth ISD. I have seen greatness in our classrooms. I was so humbled to watch some of our teachers be named Teaching Chair of Excellence, including Mrs. Gillespie, who was my own son's kindergarten teacher. I have seen it in person, in real life. Today is about making sure those possibilities of greatness are possible for all of our kids. Before I talk about our new superintendent, Dr. Licata, I also want to take a moment to thank my friend, Dr. Karen Molinar. It's no secret that I told Mike Morath, you're going to have a hard time convincing me she wasn't going to be the leader. I got to meet Pete yesterday, and I was struck by his humble nature, by his conviction that this job is the right moment at the right time to lead this district into the future. He has a proven track record. And importantly, for those of us that have lived here and worked with Karen, he also knows the good work that Dr. Molinar has already started and put in place, and he plans on continuing that and just pushing ahead. Early in this process, Commissioner Morath made a promise to me and to the Fort Worth residents that he would ensure our community was represented at the table and was leading with our Board of Managers. I know you've now seen the list and probably all Googled and kind of absorbed who these individuals are. I'm proud to tell you that I know all of them, and a few of them are here today with me. I'm going to introduce to you 4 of the 9 members of the new Board of Managers for Fort Worth ISD. The first is my friend and fellow attorney, Mr. Luis Galindo. Luis is a longtime practicing attorney here in the city of Fort Worth. Early in my legal career, I got to experience his greatness as a young attorney, and I'm so thankful that he's willing to serve in this capacity. Ms. Courtney Lewis, who has an incredible resume of service to the city while also juggling a very important job, will be our board vice president. She is a finance and banking professional who is actively engaged, and I mean actively engaged, in our civic community, including the Rotary Club, our Chamber of Commerce, Housing Channel, and Women's Steering Business. And Miss Rosa Verdeja is our board secretary. She's called Fort Worth home for more than 30 years. If you know Rosa, then you know that she is Team Fort Worth all of the way. She also is incredibly busy while she manages her thriving law practice. She is chair-elect of the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and chair of the Board of Directors of Recovery Resource Council. And to my introduction today for our board chair, of course, is my friend. Many of you know him as he runs the Richardson Foundation, but importantly, his resume is long. But I have to tell you, I met Pete before I knew who Pete really was. I had a young family, we moved into Fort Worth, and he was my neighbor who would sometimes come across the street with his beautiful granddaughter to play with my boys and let my husband try to serenade him on the guitar. And I got to know a man that really understood this community. He understands what community service looks like. Very few people can talk about public service the way that Pete can as a member of Congress, and then of course to serve as Secretary of the Army under both Bush and Obama. He understands what it looks like to be public service first. And aren't we fortunate that he's answered this call of duty at this moment in time that is so critical for the city of Fort Worth? Pete once told me, you can't romanticize or admire the problem, you have to focus on the solution. So I believe it is very appropriate today I introduce him and thank him for answering the call of duty to be part of our solution. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Fort Worth ISD's new board president, Secretary Pete Guerin.
Well, the mayor didn't mention Arlington Heights High School class of 1970, proud Yellow Jacket. And I'm married to Arlington Heights High School, Miss Arlington High School, class of 1972. Becky, thank you for being here today. Why are we here? Student outcomes, student outcomes, student outcomes. Most of our children cannot read at grade level. Not a few, not some, not many, most. Most of our children can't read at grade level. In our district, 63% can. That's 40,000 of our children who cannot read at grade level. Thank you, Mayor Parker, for your clarion call in August of 2024 and your leadership on this issue ever since. You told us that our kids can't read at grade level, and that's unacceptable for our great city. It's a civic and moral crisis, you told us, and challenged us to do better for our kids. Reading is a civil right, and our kids can't read. Maybe we did not know all of that before your wake-up call, but we know now. So where do we find ourselves today? Thanks to you, Mayor, and Dr. Molinar, and tireless community leaders and advocates, our kids are in a better place. But we remain the lowest performing school district of any big city in Texas. Our district had a plan underway to change that. Under that plan, if successful, half of our children would read at grade level by 2030. A child's only in the third grade once. Half reading at grade level by 2030. Does anybody really think that's okay? Soft bigotry of low expectations. We can do better, and we must move faster for our kids. Houston had 57 F-rated schools 3 years ago. 0 today. 0 today. The kids can't wait. Houston did not wait, and we won't wait. It's go time in Cowtown. So where do we find ourselves today? We failed our kids for over a decade, and the state stepped in on behalf of our kids. Regardless of whether you were for or against the intervention, that's where we are. The state appointed a new school board and hired a new superintendent. And all of us must join hands to make this work for our kids. No looking back. No looking back. The time is now. A child is only in the third grade once. I'll introduce our new superintendent, but before I do, I want to tell you something about our new school board. Sworn in at 7 a.m. this morning at Artes de la Rosa on the north side. It's an extraordinary team made up of ordinary folks drawn from all across our community. Made extraordinary for one reason, because of our mutual commitment to our kids. Kids first, our kids. We were educated, trained, and whipped into shape by a servant leader from San Antonio who devoted his last several months to us and our kids. He started with 300, and now we have 9. Steve, we're ready to take the field for our kids. On behalf of our kids, I say thank you. Who is our new coach? He's from Florida. He and his wife Judy are two of our newest Texans. They did show up in a Ford F-150 truck. Made a very good first impression. His name is Pete Licata. You have his bio, so I will only hit the highlights. He's a lifetime educator, a middle school teacher, school leader, administrator, and superintendent. Wherever Pete has been, the kids win. Everywhere, every time, Pete's kids win. Under his leadership, our kids will win. Please join me in welcoming Pete Licata, one of our newest Texans, to Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you. Thank you. These are mine. These are yours? Yes. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's an honor, a privilege to not only stand here as the new superintendent, but to stand in a library that has historical significance to this area. I'm going to read the first part because when you know people for 24 to 48 hours, it's good to remember their names, but it's even better to write them down and make sure you get them right, because that's something you will never live down if you forget the first day. First, I want to thank Pete Guerin for being so hospitable to me in the last 24 hours. The mayor, who told us some statistics that nobody wants to hear. They're offensive. She has been incredibly welcoming, but she is a taskmaster, and I'm already under her tasks list. Board of Managers, got to meet them the other day. I can't think of a better group of people that are sitting in a room that are advancing something they want to do. It's a selfless position. It's not paid. It's not about moving to the next level. It's about what they feel and that moral obligation to make things better for the children of our community. And I can say that because we've moved here. I also want to let you know that my wife approved of Fort Worth immediately. And if you know anything about marriage, your wife is always the smartest and she's always right. And she is behind me here, and I can't say thank you enough to her. She is the best human being I know, and I'm very fortunate to be with her. I had a great meeting this morning. It was supposed to be 15 minutes. It lasted a half an hour with the previous superintendent, Dr. Karen Molinar. What a great human being. She was open, honest, professional, classy, and you could see that children were the focus of her efforts. And she simply said, Pete, I'll get out of your way, but if you need me, make sure my babies are taken care of. I assured her of that. She deserves some credit. Under her, Fort Worth has gained some momentum, and I will recognize her for that. It is important. She's a fixture here. If anyone knows anything more about education in this Fort Worth, I don't think they're around, because she is the epitome of education. We are embracing this city already. We've been told where to eat, where to go, what the best barbecue is. I will not bring that up in this conversation. But I've also been told that the people of Fort Worth are phenomenal. And I know this is when I pull up to a stop sign, I'm not getting the Florida wave. I'm getting the Texas wave of go ahead and go. That's important. That's where we want to be. I was asked, why Fort Worth? I thought for a moment and realized I can't think of a reason why not. This is an opportunity for me to bring my skill set to a place that deserves the best. We're very excited for being here. There's no question about it. This is an opportunity, it's an honor, but it's a responsibility. And that responsibility means two things will always be a priority. And the first is separate from the second. It's children. You are not a public educator if children are the first thing you think of when you address anything regarding school-related activities, education, classrooms, personnel, HR, rules, buses, health, food. It means we look at children as a whole person. I've said this many times. Educating children, there's 5 things that happen before they sit in the classroom so a teacher can do their craft. And we have to make sure those 5 people that are responsible for that do their job so we can really hone in on educating. They have to get to school on time, usually by a bus. that's safe. They have to be fed if they're hungry. They have to be taken care of if they're not feeling well. They have to have a clean environment to learn from. And more importantly, if something happened in their life the night before that they don't understand, they have to have someone to talk to. It is only then can we educate a child to its fullest. You take one of those out, they're already behind. So educating is more than just in the classroom. It's making sure that facilities, and let me be very clear. When I walk into a facility, I should not know the neighborhood I'm in. They all should look the same, regardless of what town, what zip code. They should all look the same, because that's a sense of honor. Just like our board chair spoke about Arlington Heights, that's how every child should say, talk about their school. I'm not going to get into the statistics. We know those. They're depressing, they're offensive, and they're angering. Children not even born in Fort Worth right now are not guaranteed to be proficient at their grade level, nor guaranteed to graduate. That's 20 years. Think about that. The gap that everyone talks about that is normal across the country, that this group should never, is always behind this group, and is always behind that group, and is always behind that group. That's an excuse. That is not the way we educate children. They walk through that door, they are one child. Because if we devalue them, we value someone else more. And that's unfair either. That is not fair. Every child has the equal weight. This has been difficult for the community. I will say I've been in the background watching, waiting, and understanding. It's been very difficult. But now we have an opportunity. That ended this morning. What has turned into now is an opportunity. And the urgency of incremental growth, or beyond incremental growth, is far too significant than to be happy with a 1 or 2 or 3 point gain. It's good, but we have to be great. I know there's some competitiveness around with the ISDs around here, and that is perfect in my wheelhouse. I am probably the most competitive person you will ever meet, and it's not about whether I win. It's about whether our children win, whether this community wins. And right now, there's some statistics that are saying we are losing. We are going to win more than 3 or 4 games in a 10-game season, and that's where we are right now. And that's unacceptable as a coach. We have a moral obligation, and it's not something you sway away from when you hear the word moral. We have an obligation as adults to make the generation behind us better than what we had. I am a product of public education. My wife, product of public education. Our 4 children, product of public education. We went to some incredible schools. We also were educators. We're lifelong educators. Every child should have that opportunity to be exposed to a public education. Public education is an American ideal. It is not a political ideology. And we cannot turn it into one, because the students lose when we do that. I got into education because of my father, lifetime coach, algebra teacher. He was a very quiet man, a great coach, convinced all 5 of his children, me being the youngest, that we should skip college and go into business, because it's difficult. It doesn't pay well. I wouldn't say this if he was alive, but he was wrong. Education is probably the highest paying employment in the world. Intrinsically, he may have not died with a lot in his pocket, but he died a lot in his heart. And it wasn't until his funeral that I realized this. I was a general contractor, a contractor that was doing quite well at a young age. And I had person after person that I saw when I was growing up, his players, his students, tell me that he impacted their life far beyond the classroom. It did not make sense. But after 3, 4, 5, 6 members of the community that were well regarded, I realized I wasn't in the right seat on the bus. So I went back to the University of Miami, hold there, and received my academic scholarship. They did not want to give an old guy his basketball scholarship. And it is there where I graduated and became a 7th grade geography teacher in the inner city with 142 students, roughly 40 students a class. I only have 4 of them, mostly boys. And I felt like I had the greatest job in the world because everybody wants to be a 7th grade geography teacher. Maybe not, but we're going to change that, and I'll get to that. I slowly moved through the ranks. I didn't think it was fast enough, but it was at the right pace. Most of it was involuntary because people saw in me the ability to turn things around, to fix things, to take on, to run to fire, and be that person that sees the objective for everybody, not for myself. I am a person who runs to fire. As I moved through the system, I was very fortunate to have an incredible team around me. And I know that this is a collaborative effort to make every child at proficiency at grade level is everyone in this room, whether you're behind a camera recording this, whether you're part of my group, or whether you're my boss at home. This is everybody's job. We have a moral obligation. We have a board that sees it the exact same way. Fort Worth was defined by someone who I trust already. It said, it is the biggest small town you will ever see. I thought about that, and it makes sense after being here for about a week. But it also means that I get to hang that over everybody's head and tell them that this is their town too. And it's their obligation to be supportive, resistant when it means children aren't getting the best, but supportive of how we move forward. There'll be 2 promises I have referred to earlier. The first one, none of you really matter in this room as much as the children that walked into a classroom today. You're all important, but you're not as important as them. And I just told the executive cabinet the exact same thing. You're important to my success, but you're important to the children's success. Children are number 1. And whenever it becomes a difficult issue, such as paying for children that we don't have because we have to look at our budget tightly, or looking at what's best for children's progression, or what standards we're teaching them to make sure they test well at a proficiency level that's considered the bottom of proficiency, not the top. Proficiency at grade level is the bottom. It's the lowest form of acceptance. It's not where we want our children. We want them to excel. The second is transparency. I had a superintendent who proceeded to move me every 3 years, and I would get a phone call, and he's probably listening. Pete, I'm moving you. I'm moving you. School's a C. It's going to become a D. I need you to make it an A. This department's struggling. I need us to be the very best in college and career readiness, which we were. We beat Miami-Dade, which was twice the size of us, and Broward at the time when I was in Palm Beach, which was 50% bigger than us. He said, never let anyone tell your story when you've had an opportunity to tell it first. And that story isn't always rainbows and unicorns. But I can tell you that you will have access to me. I will be completely transparent. My staff already realizes we will be transparent. The community, if I'm going to put the responsibility on them as well as us to improve this educational mediocrity, I'm going to also make sure that they have the information and they understand there's 2 sides to every story. And it won't always be great, but it'll be our story. I've informed the board that I will keep them abreast of everything that occurs. Not that they have to react to it, but when their constituents ask what's going on at such and such a school, they'll be able to convey that if necessary. That's important. That's transparency. And I can't say that standing up here and not give them the information as well. I also know that I'm not going to answer a question I don't have an answer to. I'm not afraid of saying I don't know. And you may get that a lot today. If I start making decisions from this podium 2.5 hours into my role, I've already failed. So when you ask me questions today, ask me ones that I can answer. Because I'm really good at saying, I don't know, but I'll find out. And when I'm in this role long enough, I'll get back to you. But I will get back to you. I think we're already planning on media opportunities. I've never shied away from the media. I'm sure I have 3 texts from people down in South Florida that have texted me that are reporters, Pulitzer Prize winners, that are probably, what are you doing? Thought you were sick. Well, let me address that once, because it's fair, and I will address it once. The hardest day in my career, and the most memorable day in my career, was sitting at the dais about almost a full year into my reign as superintendent in Broward County, Florida, knowing that we were becoming an A for the first time in 14 years. 257,000 students, 250 schools, a black and brown population that resembles Fort Worth identically, 17% white, just like Fort Worth, 75 plus free and reduced, and I was getting pushed because we were at 63, 64, check those numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's that, of reading proficiency. That's almost twice as Fort Worth, with 3 times as many children. It can be done. It can be done. And I'm on that dais, ready to announce that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks when the school grades come out. I'm ready to announce that we have a balanced budget. We've shaved $20 million off without losing 1 person, without having any real teacher vacancies in the single digits, with a board member ready to bring an extension of 4 years to my contract, and having to sit down and struggle through a paragraph saying I've made a decision with my brain and not my heart, and it was the best decision, but the hardest decision. I recently went to the doctor before arriving here just to confirm there is nothing to worry about. I am as healthy as a 35-year-old person that spent some time training for the FBI. There's your answer. So you can skip that question off your checklist. I think you get a feel for who I am already. I have some visits planned, and I'm not going to disclose that with you, because my visits are going to be about the communities and about the parents I talk to in the upcoming days. And I'm not even going to tell them who I am. I did that for the last few days. It's very hard when they start asking, who are you? It's very hard to be on an airplane looking at statistics and data, and someone from Dallas, Fort Worth is sitting next to you, and you keep turning your computer screen this way, and they're like, no, you can have more room. No, I can't. And I wanted to ask that person so much. But I will tell you a story that boiled my blood the other day, and please tell me if I'm going over time. I may have played a little more golf than I should have in the last year and a half, and you can only play golf so much. You can't go on vacation forever. And I realized when a group of superintendents in Philadelphia about 152 days ago, said, Pete, when are you getting back into it? You look great, and you look like you miss it. And my answer to them was, I miss so much about being a superintendent, but there's so much I don't miss. When Fort Worth became available, it was the place that I knew I was going to miss a lot of in my job. I realized it was time to come back. But as I'm sitting in the clubhouse of a local golf course, not telling people who I am, A gentleman walked up to the counter, about 35 to 40. It's very difficult to judge ages nowadays. And he mentioned to the pro, I want to get in 18 holes real quick by myself. I'm from so-and-so. I don't know the city. It's not very big. In a pro shop, the pro there said, I'm from the same city. What brings you out here? He said, well, I went to school here in town at TCU and met my wife. And we bought a nice little house downtown. And we've been there ever since. He goes, well, what brings you out here? He goes, well, we started having children. And he used a word I won't use in public. There's no way am I sending my children to Fort Worth ISD schools. I was looking at a shirt that I would have been in trouble to buy. And I spun around as fast as I could. And every bit of energy it took for me to ask him why. Guess what I get to do from now on when I'm with parents? I can say why. And they're going to give me the answer. And it may not be an answer I want, and it may be a truthful answer. But I'm going to get that answer. And I wanted to get that answer from that young man. And I didn't judge him. I didn't blame him. But I wanted to know why. I think I knew why. I'm pretty sure I knew why. And some of it might have been valid. Some of it may not have. But we're going to get rid of the valid part of that. We're going to change that. We're going to be here to make Fort Worth the best ISD in this area and in the state of Texas. My home state of Texas, shall we say. We decided to go ahead and get an Airbnb. And it's important that you know this. We're renting for a month or two. I did not want to worry about where my pots and pans and silverware is going. The next 2 months is pretty much an army cot and a small shower. Because my attention is important. We have 3-month head start at the beginning of next year. Testing is coming up. The system has already been told to stabilize. The leaders under the executive cabinet understand that. We need exact, specific, real data to make some decisions moving forward. Our educational system is going to look differently. It's going to be focused on standards. It's going to be focused on reading. It's going to be focused on math. And it's be focused on our excellent teachers. Our excellent teachers, fear not. If you believe you're an excellent teacher, fear not, because you will have an opportunity to not only increase your pay, but work with some dynamic leaders and be able to say you were part of that turnaround. I did say excellent teachers, and I also mean excellent leaders. Fort Worth Independent School District is no longer. We will not allow that. And you just saw my competitiveness come out. Sorry about that, folks. But it's real, and it's on. As someone who came from University of Miami, I knew winning quite well. But I also knew a coach there that left after my second year, that had just won a national championship. And he left us for, I think, a team down the road called the Dallas Cowboys. But he said to his starters, because I was very close to a lot of the football players, we won a national championship. You made all team, all pro, all whatever it was, all conference. But your job's open. You're going to have to earn it again this year. A child only goes to third grade once. We want excellent teachers and excellent leaders. But last year is not this year. Next year is not this year. Third grader becomes a fourth grader. First grader becomes a second grader. It's also our job to make sure our kids are reading before they get to school. Shame on us for thinking a third grade teacher can make a difference of 3 years that quickly. And parents, if you can't do that, we can help you. This is an entire community. We have some challenges ahead. Some board agendas ahead that are going to be tough. Every large district in the country is suffering from budget, suffering from closures, reduced populations. People are not having children. There's other educational opportunities. Demographics are changing. It's not going to be easy. I've asked this group to make sure they're ready for that. Someone you know for 30 years is going to be up there on that microphone asking for something. And we have to make a decision what's best for the entire group. It's going to be hard, but we'll do it. because when you put a problem beyond and put a child in front of it, it gets easier to answer immediately because you lose the periphery and you remember why you're here. And that's important. I believe I've covered everything. I think I've answered the easy questions. And I am going to be very, very short on this. If it's a question that's going to require me to be a little more into the job, circle it, bring it back to me so we can move through this. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to turn it over for the selection process of Jake Kuberski and make sure we take some questions. But thank you so far.
And living next year in the previous school districts, that's kind of what we've seen there. What in your experience tells parents and community that you could have the ability to turn around the school districts?
Well, if you're looking at the chart in your hand, I believe you led with Palm Beach, where I wasn't the superintendent. I was the regional superintendent of 70 schools, about 75,000 students. And that change was a little bit more than incremental. And we did have a D school during COVID and moved it to a C school. I petitioned the governor's office and the commissioner to let us grade that school because we were not accepting every grade rolled over during COVID. Everyone fell during that time. But we had put too much energy. The teachers deserved us to fight that battle because they put every ounce of energy in there. When I was assistant superintendent of choice and career options, we became the leader in the nation, and we weren't even on the spec of the spectrum of industry certifications, advanced coursework, IB, AP, ACE. We blew everybody out of the water, so much so that the team and the school district received a $12 million grant. So much so that we received an equity award from Magnet Schools of America, a team award, that said we were the best because we provided programs where places students couldn't get them. And when they can't get to a program, they go somewhere else. So that's one of the keys. The other key, they go somewhere else. So that's one of the keys. The other key is making students first, not accepting incremental change. Again, incremental change is wonderful, but we're at 37%. If you look at Broward at 64, 63%, that's moving up. I think everyone in this room would raise their hand to see 64% at the next year. So can I guarantee it? Almost. I can almost do a Joe Namath running out of the Orange Bowl for those that remember that. But I can guarantee you we're going to put everything in place because I've yet to fail and I'm not going to be starting here.
So it's very similar to Jacob's question, but I ran through some of your accolades with a parent this morning. Some of the things we heard from people in South Florida talked about your work with the Hispanic community and the African American community. The parent said to me, "Great, Wayne, but I've heard this before. We've had nice people, we've had smart people, we've had great people. What is he going to do that's different?" Because we keep going through this cycle of bringing in really great people, but nothing. Parent said, "What's he going to do that's different?" I know it's along the lines of what Jacob asked, but that's what I've been asked.
That's a great question. And that's the meat of it. The classroom will look differently. The classroom will be focused on by the educational leader and the educational leaders. There'll be no duties of that principal to deal with facilities and such. That'll be taken off their plate. They're master educators. That's why they're in their role, or we'll find out, do they belong in that role? Same with the classroom. We are going to stay on standards that the state decided is the minimum. We are going to focus on those. I want anyone in this room to tell me that what license or what degree did they receive without taking a test and studied from a booklet that provided those sample test questions. When you got your driver's license, they provided you a workbook. We have the formula. It comes from the state. Those are the questions on the test, and those are the standards. There are naysayers. But the last I checked, when I studied for my exams, I made sure I had the right book and the right standards. We're going to make sure that happens. We're going to calibrate the observation tools with real-time feedback. When a teacher is not doing something they had an opportunity to take advantage of and make sure they extend that lesson a little bit deeper into that standard to where that child will move it from a 2 to a 3, maybe to a 4. We are going to coach there, professionally, and with regard. We're not going to wait 2 days later when we don't even remember when we walked in that classroom. Principals are not going to be in their office when children are in our classrooms. Paperwork can be done later. There is a line out the door for people wanting to be principals. There's a line out the door for people who want to be me. Anywhere from that spot all the way to me. There's not a line out that door for teachers. And we have to protect them and support them. Hold them accountable. But they better get the support and professional development. And that's the other piece of that. We have to train. We have the responsibility of training them to make sure they know what is right and wrong. And accept that feedback, accept that coaching, and make sure that leader, John Hattie, visible learning, greatest researcher of educational data. He didn't do most of the data, he collected it. Single most important factor in a child's learning is the teacher's wherewithal of how high they hold the standard for that child when they walk through that door. It better be the same in every school, regardless of what that child looks like. That is the single most important factor of a child learning, right there. The second most important factor is the leader on the campus, the principal. We start with the principal. We're going to start tomorrow. I'm smiling all day today. There'll be one smile tomorrow until I visit another event that's centered around children. We're going to use real-time data, already working on a system so I can look at a dashboard, see how many students are absent, see how many students have been suspended, and why. See how many teachers are not in a vacant or in a position, how many vacancies. And I can tell you right now where the vacancies exist and what schools those are. That's going to change. We're going to put our best generals in the toughest battles, and we're going to reward them for it. And we're going to make sure that those excellent teachers, all of you, fear not, you will be going to a place to make a difference. And you will be more than the incremental change. You will be responsible for it. We are going to get heavy in that classroom because that is, if I remember correctly, the first priority. And it's going to be hard for some. It's going to be hard for some teachers that have been teaching the same year for 25 years. But it's going to be great for some that have been doing already the work and knowing they're being supported. Teachers that fail fall on our shoulders sometimes. It does. But if you don't have the integrity to look at every child and expect the best and the most and say, well, that's because they're never in that same category, or they always lag behind this subgroup, I hear that, I'm going to ask my driver to hold me back. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. So I think I gave you a glimpse. You'll get more of a glimpse. We'll roll out that plan. But that's the difference. That's the difference right there. I was just told time. What will they see? I would like to think my youth and good looks, but neither of those are true. Hopefully my sense of humor, but approachability, without a doubt. I need to hear it, and I need to hear the facts. I think folks already in the building, when I walked through, I found out their names, and they were the nurses starting the first day, bright smiles, and I gave them that speech. I said, you're important about children learning. They don't know who I am, but it's their first day too, and they got their new badges as well. They'll expect honesty, integrity, transparency, and a commitment to our, not your, our community. I said that as a Texan, didn't I? All y'all. I learned that one too, by the way. Nice suit. I like it. Looks good. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult question, and I certainly don't want to put any person on the spot. But what I found is the blockade to success of children predicated maybe on politics, long-term relationships, or unrealistic expectations that do not promote child success. Nobody's perfect. 37% readings, really far from perfect. We have to get out and get into my statement I said early, and that's my statement, and I own it. Use it against me if you need to. But public education is an American ideal. I don't need to say the rest. So that is one of the things we have to get away from. I ask you all, you find something out from a parent, you make sure you validate your professionalism by reaching out to us. And if we don't get back to you on something, and please give us some time, that's not going to be a good way to have a relationship. Let's validate both of our roles sitting in this room. If you find something out and I need to know about it, you know how to get a hold of us. Give us time to respond, and do not worry about those children in the background. That is the sound of happiness. That's why we're here. And we want them, who haven't probably gotten first grade, because I know those screams with those 5 grandchildren I have and another one on the way. That's happiness. And we, as educators in the past, have made children who smile go to school and learn how to frown. That's got to change.
We have just been listening to the press conference announcing the new superintendent in Fort Worth ISD, Dr. Peter Licata. I'm going to back you up just on some of the things we've heard over the last 45 minutes or so. Fort Worth Mayor Maddie Parker opened up the event by saying this is not a moment to place blame. She shared her initial thoughts upon her first meeting with Dr. Licata in just the past few days, and she says that she knew everyone, or knows every single person of the 9 people appointed to the Board of Managers by the TEA Commissioner, Mike Morath. Pete Guerin, who is at the head of the Sid W. Richardson Foundation in Fort Worth, a prominent presence in education in Tarrant County, particularly when it comes to reading, will be the board chair. Important to note, both he and his wife are graduates of Arlington Heights, a public school there in Fort Worth ISD. You know, the board chair, Mr. Guerin, started with reading, talking about the low percentage of students in Fort Worth ISD who are reading on grade level. It's under 40%. And I know personally, not only from reporting, but from being active in the Tarrant County community, this is an area that Pete Guerin has been extremely vocal and active about and directed numerous resources to in the Fort Worth community. So that name is not foreign to people in Fort Worth. And he talked about a quote that kind of stuck out. He said, or stood out rather, he said, the soft bigotry of low expectations, saying that they want to raise the bar for what success looks like for students in Fort Worth, saying it's go time in Cowtown. Also mentioned, I thought it was interesting that Pete talked about when the TEA took over and installed that Board of Managers in Houston ISD, there were more than 50 failing campuses. As of today, he says there are none. There were 300 applicants, by the way, to join the Board of Managers for Fort Worth ISD. That was whittled down to 9. Again, if you want to read the full list, get to know a little bit about their background, we have a great story at WFAA.com, and you can dig into and get to know the people who've been appointed to lead the district. Now to Dr. Licata. He started as a middle school teacher and a coach and worked his way all the way up to superintendent. He thanked the board, who are serving unpaid, by the way. I think that's important to call out. He also praised Dr. Molinar. I thought that was a really nice moment just of grace and kind of passing the baton, saying that she said, I'm going to get out of the way, give you whatever you need to start off on the right foot. Dr. Molinar obviously made a huge impression in the city of Fort Worth and within Fort Worth ISD. He called the statistics in Fort Worth right now depressing and offensive. Really strong moment there. And he said this is everybody's job. We have a moral obligation moving forward. He made 2 promises. One, that nobody in that room matters more than the students who went to school today in Fort Worth ISD. He also promised transparency, which I'm certain is welcome for people in the Fort Worth community. Obviously, we've reported here at WFAA about the anxiety with the change and the state intervention when it comes to public education. So that was, I think, a welcome moment, a bit of an olive branch there for the community. And he also said to the staff, if you believe you're an excellent teacher, fear not. He even talked about the best educators, the best and brightest in Fort Worth ISD having an opportunity to increase their pay. I will leave you with this. In a light moment, Dr. Licata, who went to the University of Miami, talked about leaving Broward County, where he was previously, through 2024, leaving at the height. He talked about Jimmy Johnson, y'all, leaving after he coached the University of Miami, the U, to a national championship with none other than, you know, Dallas legend Michael Irvin and others who were part of that well-famed team, and then him coming, Jimmy, that is, to the Dallas Cowboys. So, of course, that got a few laughs and chuckles in the room. He talked about having an open relationship with the press, that you'd be hearing from him, you'd be seeing from him, and that he would be an active presence in the community. So with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it over here in just a few moments so we can start WFAA midday, and we will bring you the very latest again on this major development as Fort Worth ISD now has a new superintendent and Dr. Peter Licata, a new board chair with Pete Guerin, and then, of course, 8 other members of that board of managers now appointed by the Texas Education Agency. Thanks for joining us here on WFAA Plus for this live press conference. I'm Dia Wall.